everybody. Welcome to a summer 2014 S.W.A.T review. My name is Kate, otherwise known as Narataki.
And I'm Alan, otherwise known as Hisui.
We are from ReverseThieves.com. You can go there to get other S.W.A.T reviews, as well as our monthly Speakeasy podcast, and 3+ blog posts every week. This time, we're looking at Glasslip from PA Works, and it is streaming on Crunchyroll. We were tricked. I might have watched the show anyway, but the description made it sound like glass blowing was gonna be like a central thing, and I don't think it's gonna be.
I have theories, but a lot of them are kind of weird and possibly giving the show more credit than it's worth. But, you know, we could go into what happens in this episode and everything, but I think, Kate, you put it best. This sure is a PA Works show. It
looks great, like, especially the environment looked really beautiful. You know, again, it's like, it seems to be a small town. There's a group of friends of 5, 3 girls, 2 guys, and then a transfer student comes in, and of course it's gonna, you know, kind of mix things up. We've seen this set up a lot, and we've actually seen it a lot in PA Works, which is like there's the main girl, and then, you know, one of the guy friends is totally in love with her, but one of her friends is totally in love with that guy, and there's like a thing there, so it's kind of like a love triangle, except the main girl is completely oblivious, and then the transfer student, of course, she's going to fall in love with the transfer student, and then that's going to like explode everything. I mean, we kind of know how that's gonna go, and I think I don't necessarily like have a problem with that. It's a popular formula, so it's really about what they add to it to, you know, change it up, or if maybe they just do it like spot on or something like that. So in here, I thought there was going to be glass blowing, and it does appear briefly.
It appears in the opening, and some of it is done in the episode, but it is not necessarily, it is hardly the focus of this episode.
I know, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a focus. It's really about these friends, I think. Although the show had a very ominous nature to it. There are there's a few things that happen in the episode. First, the friends are gathered at this fireworks show, and they kind of start to have this conversation about, like, their third years, maybe we'll never be here again, will we ever be the same, things could change. I thought that was very ominous. Then, in the middle of the episode, one of the characters asks another character, well, if she told you to die, would you? And I was like, okay, that was ominous. And then the end of the episode was very weird. Like, the transfer student comes in, and all the friends are sitting around this table, and there's just this weird vibe to the entire scene.
And there's that line where he's like, oh, I saw what you also saw. End of episode.
Yeah, I know. We have like no idea what she saw that day, and it was referring to that day of the fireworks. So I don't know. I also don't know if maybe there's a little bit of like very low magic, kind of a supernatural very slight in this series. You know?
I mean, obviously there's nothing super that alludes to that. You know, nobody's throwing around spells or seeing a fairy in the background, but yeah, there is definitely something going on. Could be supernatural, could just be dramas.
Right, and you also noticed, like you said, Al, about the glass.
I mean, this is not totally out of PA's Works wheelhouse, but I did notice a lot of light effects and, like, things being seen through different kinds of lenses. I mean, one of the big scenes in the first one, they go to the fireworks thing, is the girl gets those 3D glasses, and she keeps taking them on and off, and you kind of see the fireworks through that, and there's a lot of other kind of light going through glass. And so I'm wondering if how you see things and how they're distorted by your perception is a theme. But I might be, like, reading too much into it, and because sometimes PA Works just has a fetishization for the mundane and, like, animating normal things, so it might be just like, you know, it would be cool if we put a lightning effect here and then it does this to this part of the scene. So that might have been all I noticed. They make a big thing about glass, maybe glass and how it distorts light. Maybe that's more important than the actual glass blowing. That's a metaphor for how these people, you know, interact with each other.
But I didn't want it to be a metaphor, Al. I wanted there to be glass blowing. I mean, the chickens were more important than this episode than the glass. And yes, there's chickens, and there's like a whole like mini storyline with everybody getting chickens and taking them to their houses. But I feel like the focus of the series is definitely sort of like friendship, love dramas.
Although I feel like, especially with that conversation that the new student has with the main character, he's definitely got an issue or two.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's gonna be all dramas. At least there weren't fish knees. I think that's the last PA Works show we watched, and we did get really distracted in that final scene that was supposed to be very dramatic, and as I mentioned, it was very ominous, except in the background there was this really weird picture on the wall that just said, "A man," and it had this very poorly drawn figure on it.
It was supposed to be a scarecrow.
It was just like the weirdest. Like, it was like, why is this in the background? It's distracting me because it's funny. Like, as for, the character personalities, I think that, I don't know, it just felt a little bit, like, standard.
Yeah, nobody really stood out as annoying, but I do feel like the characters didn't distinguish themselves enough from the standard PA Works formula. Like, I really, as I was mentioning beforehand, I really liked Tari because all the characters really were just fun and, like, kind of engaged with you. Whereas these kind of characters, Main Girl's kind of wacky and running around, but everybody else seems to be like, I have this burden on my heart.
And I'm also really worried that those two characters that I thought were kind of like a couple or something are actually related, and I was like, wait, what's going on?
I mean, there is your theory that maybe, like, something happened to that guy's parents.
That's what I'm thinking, because they seem to live in the same house. That's where I was like, because, like, that happens, like, 3/4 of the way through, and it was like, oh, they seem kind of like they got, like, a little something's going on between them, but then it's like, oh, they live in the same house, please don't be brother and sister. And I'm pretty sure they're not brother and sister, but yeah, I think that's my theory, is that maybe his parents, like, went overseas or some blah, blah, blah. One of those typical, like, reasons why two teenagers would live in the same household together.
Well, or once again, maybe his parents died.
Yeah, that could be something more traumatic. I mean, it does seem like a series that's going to have high dramas to it, so.
Yeah, because at first I thought, since they were all very obviously this tight group of friends, I thought he was like maybe the guy who lived next door. Because he mentions like, oh, I saw the thing on your door. And she's like, oh, what are you doing looking at my room? Blah, blah, blah. And I figured, oh, he's probably like the guy who lives next door, and basically their families are so close that they can just go in and out of each other's houses like they were a member of that household. And I'm like, oh no, he does live in that house.
So I hope it's not that, because I actually thought that they were kind of interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if I probably won't watch another episode, although I am really curious what they saw that day. And it wasn't the name of that flower that they saw. It was so clearly something else.
I mean, once again, P.A. Works does throw in an insane amount of detail, and they do drama well. So, I feel like if you've kind of grown very used to their formula, you could find this tired. But if you haven't watched any of their shows, this is probably super new and fresh. And yeah, they do tend to be a lot more lighthearted, although, there was obviously a storm a-coming with that one with the fish people. This one just right from the start, it's like, yeah, there's gonna be drama, kid. Alright, see you guys next time.